My beloved one, this message was blocked 3 times. Not because it was weak, not because it was late, but because it was precise. There are moments when heaven waits for silence to speak. And if you are here right now, it means the interruption you felt today was not random. Something slowed you down. Something pulled your attention. Something made you pause, even if only for a second. That pause was not accidental. It was permission. This was not meant to be found by many. It was meant to arrive to one heart at a time. You may not understand why the last few days have felt unusually heavy, or strangely quiet, or filled with signs you cannot explain. You may feel as if life has been whispering instead of shouting. Doors half open, conversations unfinished, thoughts returning again and again without answers. This is not confusion. This is preparation. There are messages that cannot reach you when you are distracted, so they wait. There are revelations that cannot land when you are rushing, so they slow you down. There are blessings that cannot be received with noise in the soul, so they create stillness first. That is what this moment is. Some of you felt resistance before pressing play. A thought saying, later. A feeling saying, not now. A hesitation that made no sense. That was not doubt. That was delay trying to do its job one last time. Because what is being revealed here was never meant to be rushed, replayed casually, or consumed like ordinary content. This is not information. This is alignment. Right now, something is shifting in the unseen, not in the world, in your direction. You have been asking questions silently, not always with words, but with sighs, with tiredness, with moments where you stared into space and wondered why certain patterns keep repeating, why certain people faded, why certain doors closed without explanation, why your spirit has felt stretched between hope and exhaustion. None of that has been wasted. There is a reason this message did not arrive earlier. And there is a reason it arrived now. What you are about to understand will not shock you because it is loud. It will shock you because it is accurate. It will put language to what you have felt but could not explain. It will confirm what you suspected but were afraid to trust. You were not overlooked. You were not forgotten. You were being protected from receiving something too early. There is a difference. Some blessings, if delivered before the right moment, become burdens. Some truths, if revealed too soon, create fear instead of clarity. Some doors, if opened prematurely, lead you into rooms you were not yet strong enough to stand in. So heaven waited. And now, the waiting is over. Pay attention to what resonates, not just emotionally, but deeply. The kind of recognition that feels like remembering something you never learned. The kind that makes your chest feel warm and heavy at the same time. The kind that does not rush you, but anchors you. This message is not here to entertain you. It is here to position you. In the coming moments, you will begin to notice how certain struggles start to make sense. Why resistance increased right before breakthrough. Why pressure rose just before clarity. Why the silence became louder than noise. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where timing required you to be. And there is something being released, not to everyone, but to those who stayed present long enough to receive it. Stay with this, not because you were told to, but because something in you already knows this moment matters. There is a reason this message felt delayed to you. Not delayed in time, but delayed in access. What you are experiencing right now is what happens when something meant for you keeps getting intercepted by noise, pressure, and distraction. Not to stop it forever, but to test whether you would still recognize it when it finally arrived quietly. Some of you have been feeling unusually alert lately. Your sleep changed. Your patience shortened. Your thoughts deepened. You started noticing patterns instead of coincidences. Repeated numbers. Repeated dreams. Repeated emotions that come and go without warning. Those are not random signals. They are alerts. When God prepares to send something significant, the first thing that changes is not your situation. It is your awareness. You begin to feel unsettled, not because something is wrong, but because something is aligning. This is why confusion increased instead of clarity. This is why pressure showed up before peace. This is why old emotions resurfaced when you thought you were past them. You were being repositioned. There are moments when God blocks a message not to deny it, but to protect the timing. Because if it reached you too early, you would doubt it. If it reached you too late, you would miss it. So it came now. And here is the truth most people never hear. Not every blessing arrives loudly. Some arrive disguised as interruption. Some arrive through delay. Some arrive through discomfort that forces you to slow down long enough to notice. What you thought was resistance was actually refinement. Look back carefully. The last few weeks were not ordinary. People acted differently around you. Some distanced themselves without explanation. Some tested your patience unexpectedly. Some revealed sides of themselves you were not prepared to see. That was exposure, not betrayal. Because what is being prepared for you next cannot coexist with confusion about who and what belongs in your life. God removes distractions before delivering direction. This is why your spirit has felt stretched. You are between what was familiar and what is forming. And that space, though uncomfortable, is sacred. If you have felt emotionally tired without physical reason, it is because something has been shifting beneath the surface. If you have felt moments of sudden calm followed by sudden uncertainty, it is because alignment is happening in layers. This message is not here to rush you forward. It is here to stabilize you. Because what is coming requires clarity, not fear. Stillness, not panic. Awareness, not guessing. The reason this message feels personal is because it is precise. It is not speaking to your past. It is speaking to your position right now. And if you stay present, you will begin to recognize the signs not as warnings, but as guidance. What you are waiting for is not lost. What you are hoping for is not delayed. It is being delivered in the only way that will not harm you. Stay with this moment. Something is unfolding that does not need to be rushed, only received. There is a reason your spirit has been restless lately. Not anxious. Not afraid. Restless. That restlessness is not weakness. It is recognition. Something within you has sensed a shift before your mind could explain it. You have felt moments where your heart knew something was coming, but your life had not yet caught up. This is where many people misunderstand God's silence. Silence does not mean absence. Silence often means movement behind the scenes. When heaven prepares something precise, it removes distractions first. You may have noticed how certain conversations stopped making sense. Certain habits no longer satisfied you. Certain goals lost their shine. This was not loss. This was alignment. You are being repositioned. Some of the pressure you felt was not meant to crush you. It was meant to narrow your focus. To separate what mattered from what merely filled time. To teach your spirit how to listen again. There are signs God uses that do not appear dramatic on the outside. They appear internal. A sudden disinterest in noise. A deeper sensitivity to truth. A discomfort with pretending everything is fine. These are not random emotions. They are signals. You have been protected more than you realize. Delays that felt painful were shields. Closed doors were not rejection, they were redirection. There were paths you wanted that would have cost you peace. There were answers you demanded that would have confused you. So heaven held them back. And now, something is being released, not loudly, not publicly, but accurately. This is where the message becomes personal. The reason this feels urgent is because timing has shifted. What once required waiting now requires awareness. What once required patience now requires readiness. You are not being asked to strive harder. You are being asked to notice more clearly. Pay attention to repeated thoughts that bring calm, not fear. Pay attention to ideas that return gently, not forcefully. Pay attention to moments when clarity arrives without effort. That is guidance. You are not meant to chase what is coming. You are meant to prepare space for it. That means letting go of the need to control how it arrives. Trust does not always look like confidence. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Right now, heaven is aligning people, timing, and circumstances in ways you cannot see yet. But you will recognize the result when it appears. It will not feel foreign. It will feel familiar, like something that belonged to you long before it arrived. This is why this message matters now, because what is coming next will require a steady spirit, not a rushed one, a listening heart, not a distracted one, a grounded faith, not an emotional one. You are closer than you think, more prepared than you feel, and more guided than you have been told. Stay present. This is not the end of the message. This is the moment where clarity begins to form. There is a reason this message survived resistance. There is a reason it reached you when other things faded away. Because some messages are not sent to inform you. They are sent to interrupt what was silently draining you. You have been carrying questions that never left your mind. Not dramatic questions. Quiet ones. The kind that sit with you when everything else is done. Questions about timing. About delay. About why your effort did not produce the outcome you expected. About why your heart stayed sincere while circumstances stayed stubborn. This is where the misunderstanding happened. You thought the delay meant denial. You thought the pressure meant punishment. You thought the silence meant absence. But what if the silence was strategy? What if what felt like being blocked was actually being preserved? There are moments when heaven does not answer immediately because the answer would expose you before you are covered. There are moments when things slow down because speed would have placed you in the wrong hands, the wrong conversations, the wrong environment. Look back carefully. Notice how certain people were removed before they could misunderstand you. Notice how certain opportunities vanished before they could cost you peace. Notice how certain plans collapsed before they could trap you. That was not loss. That was precision. The reason this message feels intense is because it is aligning loose pieces inside you. It is naming patterns you never spoke aloud. It is explaining why your spirit has felt restless without being fearful, expectant without being excited, ready without knowing for what. Something is being prepared for you that requires clarity, not noise. Strength, not urgency. Awareness, not assumption. This is why the message was blocked before. Not because it was hidden from you, but because you were being shaped to receive it without fear. Right now, your perception is being sharpened. From this point forward, you will start noticing signals you ignored before. Small confirmations, repeated themes, gentle redirections. You will feel a quiet confidence replacing confusion. Not excitement, not pressure, confidence. And when the next step appears, it will not arrive with chaos. It will arrive with calm. That calm will be your confirmation. You will understand why timing mattered. You will understand why waiting protected you. You will understand why not everyone could walk with you into what is coming. This message was not meant to scare you or rush you. It was meant to steady you, to remind you that nothing unfolding around you is accidental, that even the resistance served a purpose. You were not blocked. You were buffered. You were not delayed. You were aligned. And now that alignment has begun to unlock what was reserved specifically for you, stay aware, stay grounded, stay present, because what comes next will not need to announce itself loudly. You will recognize it by the peace that arrives before it does. There is a reason resistance increased right before this moment. What you felt was not failure circling back. It was exposure. When something is about to leave your life for good, it often becomes loud one last time. Old thoughts, old fears, old memories trying to convince you nothing has changed. But that noise is not power. It is proof that its time is ending. This is where many people misread the moment. They assume the pressure means they are moving in the wrong direction. In truth, pressure often appears when alignment is near. Darkness does not argue with what it already owns. It only reacts to what it is about to lose. Pay attention to what has been shaking lately. Not everything that shakes is meant to fall apart. Some things shake because they are being repositioned. You have been protected in ways you could not see. Some plans you wanted did not work. Some connections faded without closure. Some opportunities disappeared even though they looked perfect. At the time, it felt like loss. Now it is becoming clear it was filtering. There are doors that look like blessings but function like delays. There are paths that seem peaceful but would have drained your strength slowly. You were spared, not denied. That is why this message matters now. Heaven does not rush announcements. When a message arrives repeatedly blocked, delayed, resisted, it is because it carries timing, sensitive clarity. And clarity changes everything. You are entering a season where confusion is no longer allowed to lead. Not because questions disappear, but because direction becomes stronger than doubt. You will not need every answer to move forward. You will only need one clear instruction at a time. And that instruction is forming now. Some of you will notice a sudden calm after this. Not excitement. Not noise. Calm. The kind of calm that does not need validation. The kind that feels settled even before circumstances change. That calm is alignment locking in. Others will notice separation beginning. Not dramatic, not painful, but natural. Conversations shortening. Priorities shifting. Interests changing. This is not loss. This is refinement. You are not being isolated. You are being positioned where your spirit can breathe. The next phase of your life will not respond to panic. It will respond to clarity. That is why urgency had to meet stillness before movement could happen. What is being prepared for you will require discernment more than effort, awareness more than speed, trust more than control. You are not meant to chase what is coming. You are meant to recognize it. That is why this message was protected until now. In the days ahead, signs will not scream. They will whisper. A phrase that stands out. A moment of unexpected confirmation. A feeling of rightness that does not need explanation. Pay attention to those moments. They are not random. They are coordinates. You have already survived the part that was meant to break you. That chapter is closing quietly, without ceremony, because it no longer needs attention. What comes next does not require proving yourself. It requires presence. Stay grounded. Stay aware. Stay receptive. This was not just a message you found. This was a moment that found you. There is a reason everything started to feel heavier right before this moment. Not heavier in a dramatic way. Heavier in a quiet way. The kind of weight that settles in your thoughts late at night, when no one else is watching, when questions return without answers. That weight was not meant to crush you. It was meant to slow you. When God prepares to move something significant into a life, the first sign is rarely excitement. It is often pressure. Pressure rearranges priorities. Pressure exposes what no longer fits. Pressure forces you to listen differently. Think carefully about the last season you just walked through. You were pushed to the edge of your patience. You were tested in areas you thought were already healed. You felt misunderstood even when you spoke clearly. You felt delayed even when you did everything right. This was not punishment. This was alignment. What most people never realize is that before God releases clarity, He removes noise. Before He sends direction, He allows confusion to reveal where you've been depending on the wrong signals. Before he opens a door, he closes distractions that would pull you away from it. Some of the silence you experienced was intentional. You were not being ignored. You were being protected from information that would have overwhelmed you too early. There are things God does not explain until your spirit can carry the explanation without breaking. There are truths He withholds not to hide, but to preserve. That is why certain answers did not come when you begged for them. That is why certain prayers felt like they echoed back to you. That is why certain relationships faded without closure. You were being moved into a higher level of discernment. Right now, something important is being positioned closer to you than you realize. Not chasing you, not forcing itself into your hands, but waiting for you to recognize it with calm confidence instead of desperation. And here is the part that few are told. When God prepares to send something real, He allows counterfeits to lose their shine first. Things that once felt exciting suddenly feel empty. Paths that once looked promising suddenly feel wrong. Voices you once trusted suddenly feel distant. That discomfort is guidance. You are learning to recognize peace without noise. You are learning to trust clarity without urgency. You are learning to move without needing approval. This message reached you now because your spirit is finally quiet enough to hear what was always meant for you. Do not rush this understanding. Do not analyze it away. Let it settle. Because the next thing God sends will not arrive loudly. It will arrive clearly. And when it does, you will not need to ask if it is real. You will know. This is the part where many people realize why the message was blocked. Not because it was hidden from you, but because it was protecting you until you were ready to see it without fear. There are seasons when God does not speak louder. He speaks clearer. And clarity can feel uncomfortable before it feels comforting. You have been sensing that something is about to arrive, but not knowing what. A restlessness without panic. An alertness without explanation. Moments where your heart feels awake even when your mind is tired. That is not imagination. That is alignment beginning to lock into place. Here is the truth that surprises many people. God does not send everything at once. He sends signals first. Before a shift appears in your life, a pattern breaks. Before a blessing arrives, a distraction loses its grip. Before direction becomes obvious, confusion rises one last time. That is why the pressure increased recently. That is why emotions felt closer to the surface. That is why certain people suddenly revealed their distance. None of that was loss. It was clearing. You were being moved into position quietly. Some of you noticed delays that made no sense. Responses that came late. Plans that paused unexpectedly. Paths that closed even though you did everything right. That was not punishment. That was precision. Because what God is preparing to send next cannot land in a rushed life. What is coming requires space. It requires awareness. It requires you to be present instead of reactive. This message is not saying everything will change overnight. It is saying everything is now aligned to change intentionally. The reason this part matters so deeply is because many people give up right here. They misinterpret the tension as a sign to stop, when it is actually a sign to stay steady. You were not meant to chase what is coming. You were meant to receive it. And receiving requires readiness, not effort. Notice how your spirit feels right now. Not excited in a loud way, but settled, grounded, alert. That is how you know this is real. Truth does not rush you. It anchors you. What has been happening around you was not random activity. It was God reducing noise so you could recognize His timing without confusion. Very soon, something will make sense without needing explanation. A door will open naturally. A conversation will flow without resistance. A decision will feel peaceful instead of pressured. That will be your confirmation. Until then, remain attentive. Not anxious. Not forcing. Just aware. Because this message did not reach you by accident. And it was not delayed by mistake. It arrived exactly when your spirit could handle what comes next. What is happening now is not coincidence. It is confirmation catching up with timing. There is a reason your spirit has felt unusually alert lately. You notice small things more. Words land deeper. Silence feels louder. You sense shifts before they happen. This is not imagination. This is awareness returning to you after a season of survival. There are moments when God does not shout because the instruction is too precise to be loud. Instead, He arranges your surroundings so the message finds you without force. That is what this is. A quiet but undeniable arrival. You were never meant to chase clarity. Clarity was meant to recognize you. Some of you have been wondering why certain plans suddenly lost energy. Why what once excited you now feels incomplete. Why you cannot move forward the way you used to. This is not loss of passion. This is redirection without confusion. God does not always remove things dramatically. Sometimes He simply drains them of urgency so you stop giving them power. Pay attention to what no longer has a grip on you. That release is not emptiness. It is space being created. There is something being prepared that cannot coexist with old patterns. That is why certain habits feel uncomfortable now. Certain conversations feel heavy. Certain expectations feel foreign. You are not failing to fit. You are outgrowing the frame. This message was delayed because you needed to reach this exact internal posture. Calm enough to hear. Honest enough to recognize. Strong enough to receive. And here is the revelation many miss. Protection often looks like interruption. Guidance often feels like delay. Alignment often begins with discomfort. What you thought was resistance was actually precision. God was narrowing your path, not blocking it. Removing distractions, not opportunities. Slowing you so you would not miss what matters most. There are signs around you that are not meant to scare you, but to steady you. Repeated numbers. Repeated thoughts. Repeated confirmations through unexpected people. These are not random echoes. They are alignment markers. You are being reminded of who you are before life demanded you forget. Right now, something is being handed to you that cannot be forced. It can only be received. That is why striving has felt exhausting. That is why pushing harder did not work. That is why rest suddenly feels necessary. You are not losing momentum. You are being repositioned. There is a door ahead that responds only to stillness, not pressure. To trust, not tension. To clarity, not urgency. And the reason this message keeps holding your attention is because your spirit recognizes its timing. This is not about information. This is about readiness. You are closer than you think. Not to noise. Not to chaos. But to understanding. Let this settle. Let it align. Let it speak without being rushed. Because what is unfolding next does not require effort. It requires awareness. And you are already there. There is a reason this moment feels heavier than the others. Not heavy with fear. Heavy with meaning. By now, you may have noticed something unusual. Certain distractions no longer satisfy you. Conversations feel shallow. Noise feels louder than before. Even things that once excited you now feel incomplete. That is not loss of interest. That is refinement. When God prepares to release something significant, He first sharpens your discernment. You are no longer meant to receive everything. You are meant to recognize what is yours. That is why confusion tried to sit beside you recently. Confusion always appears when clarity is about to be born. Pressure always increases when alignment is close. The resistance you felt was not a sign to stop. It was a sign you were near something guarded. There are shifts that do not announce themselves loudly. They announce themselves through discomfort, through restlessness, through a deep inner knowing that says, something is changing, but I cannot explain how. That is the stage you are in. Some of you have been questioning your own sensitivity, wondering why small things affect you more now, why you feel things deeply, why you notice patterns others ignore. That is not weakness. That is awareness being activated. God does not guide His chosen ones only through open doors. He also guides them through closed ones, delays, and redirections. What felt like rejection was often protection. What felt like silence was often instruction forming quietly. You were not being ignored. You were being tuned. This is important to understand now, because what is coming next will require clarity, not confusion. Stability, not panic. Stillness, not noise. There is something God is preparing to send into your life that cannot coexist with the old version of you. That is why the stretching happened first. That is why the waiting felt longer than expected. That is why certain attachments loosened without effort. You are being repositioned internally before anything changes externally. Pay attention to what no longer drains you the same way. Pay attention to how your reactions have shifted. Pay attention to the calm that appears even when answers are not yet visible. These are not coincidences. These are signals. Heaven speaks in patterns long before it speaks in outcomes. The reason this message connects so deeply is because it is not introducing something new. It is confirming something already in motion. You have been sensing it, feeling it, carrying it quietly without proof. Now comes understanding. Soon, things that felt delayed will make sense. Conversations will circle back with clarity. Opportunities will align without force. And you will realize that what you thought was being taken from you was actually being cleared away. This is not about losing anything. This is about making room. The next season will not respond to striving. It will respond to alignment. That is why peace is being restored before progress appears. That is why your spirit is being strengthened before answers arrive. If you feel unusually calm right now, hold on to that. If you feel unusually emotional, let it pass through you. If you feel unusually alert, trust it. These are signs you are awake to timing. You are not late. You are not early. You are not off course. You are exactly where preparation ends and release begins. Stay present in this moment. What comes next will not need effort to recognize. It will feel like confirmation. And when it arrives, you will understand why this message could not be delivered any sooner. There is a reason this part of the message is arriving now, and not earlier. Because what you are about to hear can only be understood after pressure has done its work. You may not realize it yet, but the confusion you felt recently was not the absence of direction. It was the presence of multiple doors closing at once so the correct one could become undeniable. When everything feels uncertain, it is often because clarity is about to become unavoidable. This is where many people misinterpret what is happening. They assume silence means abandonment. They assume delay means denial. They assume pressure means failure. But that assumption is exactly what this moment is correcting. There are times when God does not remove the weight immediately because the weight is shaping discernment inside you. Without it, you would choose too quickly, trust too easily, and settle too low. What has been happening around you is not random resistance. It is filtration. Certain options had to lose their appeal. Certain people had to reveal inconsistency. Certain paths had to feel uncomfortable. Not to hurt you, but to narrow your focus. You were being protected from attaching your future to something that could not carry it. This is why your spirit has felt alert even while your mind felt tired. This is why rest did not fully refresh you. This is why distractions stopped working. These are not signs of weakness. These are signs of alignment activating. There is a difference between exhaustion and transition. One drains you. The other strips what cannot go with you. And right now, you are not breaking down. You are being lightened. What is coming next does not require force. It requires readiness. That is why urgency surrounds this moment, but panic does not belong here. What is being prepared for you will not rush past you. It will meet you where you are, once you see clearly. You may have noticed patterns repeating lately. Similar lessons, similar emotions, similar choices showing up in different forms. That repetition was not punishment. It was refinement. Each cycle was asking one quiet question: are you ready to choose differently now? And something changed. You may not have announced it. You may not have spoken it out loud. But internally, something shifted. Your tolerance lowered. Your discernment sharpened. Your patience matured. That is why certain things suddenly felt wrong even when they once felt familiar. This is not loss. This is elevation. What God is preparing to send into your life cannot enter a space crowded with outdated attachments. So space was created. Slowly, carefully, intentionally. That is why this message had to wait. Because if you had heard it earlier, you might have tried to apply it to the wrong situation. You might have mistaken comfort for confirmation. You might have settled for almost instead of aligned. Now, you are ready to recognize what belongs to you without forcing it. The next season of your life will not announce itself with noise. It will arrive with peace that feels firm, not fragile. Clear, not confusing. Stable, not draining. Pay attention to how your spirit responds to what feels calm now. That calm is not emptiness. It is permission. You are not standing at the edge of something uncertain. You are standing at the edge of something precise. And the reason this message survived every delay is because you needed to hear it at this exact stage. When your heart is open, your discernment is awake, and your spirit is strong enough to receive what is next without fear. Stay present. What is unfolding is not random. It is intentional. There is a reason your spirit has been restless without knowing why. Not anxious, not fearful, restless. That restlessness is not confusion. It is awareness waking up. When God prepares to move something into your life, He does not announce it with noise. He signals it through pressure. You feel it when old methods stop working, when familiar comforts feel empty, when the things that once satisfied you suddenly feel misaligned. That is not loss. That is recalibration. Some of you have been feeling unusually sensitive lately. Words hit deeper. Silence feels heavier. You notice small things more clearly. You sense shifts in people's behavior. You feel drawn away from places you once enjoyed. This is not emotional weakness. This is spiritual refinement. God sharpens perception before He delivers direction. There were moments when you thought something was wrong with you. You questioned your patience, your motivation, your clarity, but nothing is wrong. Something is being stripped so that what arrives next will not be mishandled. You are being prepared to receive something that requires maturity, not excitement. This is why delays increased. This is why distractions were removed. This is why certain connections faded without closure. Not because they were bad, but because they could not go where you are going. Right now, God is teaching you how to recognize His guidance without needing constant reassurance. He is training your discernment, teaching you to listen beyond noise, beyond urgency, beyond fear. That is why your prayers have changed. You are no longer asking for everything to be fixed. You are asking for understanding, for peace, for alignment. And heaven responds to alignment faster than desperation. There is a sign you missed earlier because you were too close to it. It did not look like a miracle. It looked like inconvenience. It looked like interruption. It looked like delay. But it was protection. God blocked something you were about to settle for. And now, because you did not force it, because you waited even when you did not understand, something better is being unlocked. Not louder, not flashier, but truer. This is why this message matters now. You are not meant to chase what is coming. You are meant to be ready for it. And readiness does not feel like excitement. It feels like calm. It feels like clarity. It feels like quiet confidence. If you feel that calm settling in you right now, even slightly, that is confirmation. What is being prepared for you will not require you to fight for it. It will recognize you when the time comes. Stay present. You are closer than you think. There is a reason this moment feels different from the others. Not louder, not dramatic, different. Because what is happening now is not about change around you. It is about clarity within you. You may have noticed that recently, confusion did not come with chaos. It came with silence. Pressure did not come with noise. It came with pauses. And overwhelm did not come from too much happening, but from too much waiting. That is a sign. When God prepares to move something important into your life, He often removes distractions first. Not by force, but by letting them lose meaning. Things that once excited you feel empty. Things that once worried you feel distant. Even people who once had influence over your emotions suddenly feel quieter. This is not loss. This is focus being restored. There is something God has been guarding from interference. Something that could not arrive while your attention was divided. Something that required your inner world to become still enough to recognize it when it appeared. That is why delays happened without explanation. That is why plans shifted without warning. That is why answers did not come when you demanded them. You were not being ignored. You were being guided away from noise. Some of you have been asking, why does it feel like everything stopped at once? The answer is simple and profound. Because movement was happening in a direction you could not yet see. Heaven does not rush what must last. There are signs God uses that are subtle but unmistakable. A sudden calm where anxiety used to live. A strange confidence that appears without evidence. A sense of readiness you cannot logically justify. These are not emotions. These are signals. You are being repositioned. What is coming next is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to fit you. That is why it required refinement, patience, and separation from what no longer aligned. Think back to the last thing that left your life unexpectedly. The last door that closed without a fight. The last situation that resolved itself without your effort. Those were not coincidences. Those were clearings. Space was being made. And now, the signs are no longer preparing you. They are confirming you. You may feel an urge to trust again after a long season of caution. You may feel drawn to stillness instead of noise. You may feel less reactive, less desperate, less afraid of outcomes. That is not because everything is settled. It is because something is secured. This message is arriving at the moment when doubt is losing its grip. Not because answers have arrived yet, but because fear no longer controls the questions. God is not only guiding you away from harm, He is guiding you toward readiness. And readiness looks like peace before proof, assurance before arrival, and confidence before confirmation. If you are sensing that something is about to be revealed, not dramatically, but clearly, then you are exactly where you need to be. What is next will not need to chase you. It will recognize you. There is something important you need to understand right now, and it is this. What you have been feeling is not weakness. It is awareness. When pressure increases without explanation, it is often because something valuable is being guarded. When confusion rises even though you are trying your best, it is usually because clarity is close enough to challenge the old way of thinking. What feels heavy is not meant to crush you. It is meant to slow you long enough to notice what is changing. You may have wondered why certain distractions suddenly lost their appeal. Why conversations feel different. Why noise feels tiring instead of comforting. This is not you withdrawing from life. This is you being repositioned. There are seasons when God does not speak louder. He speaks clearer. And clarity often comes disguised as discomfort. Some of the things that ended recently were not taken from you. They were released from you. You did not lose them. You outgrew them. What you thought was removal was actually refinement. What you thought was rejection was redirection. This is why your spirit has felt restless. Because something you carried for a long time no longer belongs with you where you are going. There are signs you may have ignored at first. Repeated delays. Sudden changes. Moments where plans dissolved without warning. Each of these was not a setback. Each was a signal. A quiet instruction saying, do not move forward the same way. You are being guided away from what would have drained you later. That is protection. And protection does not always feel gentle. Sometimes it feels like interruption. Sometimes it feels like resistance. Sometimes it feels like everything slowing down at once. But when the noise clears, what remains is direction. Pay attention to what keeps returning to your thoughts without effort. Not fear, not worry, but that steady inner knowing. That sense that something meaningful is aligning even if you cannot see it yet. That knowing is not imagination. It is confirmation forming before manifestation. What is being prepared for you cannot be rushed. It requires you to arrive with clarity, not confusion. With strength, not exhaustion. With trust, not desperation. This is why timing matters more than speed. You are not late to your life. You are arriving exactly when you are meant to. What comes next will make sense of what came before. And when it does, you will realize this season was not about surviving pressure. It was about learning to stand still while purpose caught up with you. Stay present. Something is unfolding. There is a reason this part is reaching you now, and not earlier in the message. Some truths wait until the listener is ready to hold them without fear. Right now, something is being rearranged around you, even if nothing looks different on the surface. This is how real shifts happen. Quiet first. Invisible first. Internal first. If you were expecting noise, signs in the sky, or dramatic changes overnight, you would miss the real work happening underneath. The confusion you felt was not because you were lost. It was because your old direction expired. When something expires, it does not disappear instantly. It lingers. It feels familiar. It keeps trying to guide you, even though it no longer has authority. That is why recent decisions felt harder than usual. That is why clarity seemed just out of reach. You were trying to move forward using instructions that no longer applied. This is where divine guidance becomes precise. God does not shout when alignment is close. He narrows your focus. He reduces your options. He removes the noise that once distracted you. And suddenly, you feel pressure, not because danger is near, but because accuracy is required. You are not being rushed. You are being refined. Some of you noticed delays that made no logical sense. Plans that should have worked but did not. Opportunities that looked perfect but quietly collapsed. This was not rejection. This was redirection with protection attached to it. There are things you were emotionally attached to that could not follow you into what is coming next. Not because they were evil, but because they were finished. And when something is finished, holding on to it only creates exhaustion. God has been watching how you respond to silence. Do you panic? Do you assume the worst? Or do you wait without quitting? Your response mattered more than you know. Because what is being prepared for you now cannot be handed to someone who collapses in quiet seasons. It requires steadiness. It requires trust without constant reassurance. It requires a heart that stays open even when answers come slowly. That is why this message feels personal. You are entering a phase where guidance will come subtly but consistently. Through inner conviction. Through repeated confirmation. Through peace that does not depend on circumstances. This is not the season of chasing signs. This is the season of recognizing them. Something you have been praying about is closer than it appears, but it will arrive differently than you imagined. Not to confuse you, but to free you from limiting expectations. God is not repeating the past. He is creating a new pattern. Pay attention to what no longer drains you. Notice what suddenly feels lighter. Observe what no longer triggers fear the way it used to. These are signs of realignment. You are not being tested right now. You are being trusted. And what is being prepared will not require you to beg, prove, or force anything. It will arrive with a sense of rightness that feels calm, clear, and unmistakable. Stay present. The message is still unfolding. There is something important you must understand now, because this is where many people miss what God is doing. Not because they are unworthy, not because they lack faith, but because they misunderstand the silence. You may have noticed that lately, answers have not come the way they used to. No sudden clarity, no dramatic signs, no loud confirmation. Instead, there has been a quiet stretch, a pause, almost like heaven stepped back. That pause was not abandonment, it was concealment. There are moments when God hides what He is doing, not from you, but for you. Because if certain things were revealed too clearly, too early, interference would follow. Distractions would increase. Fear would rush in. Other voices would try to speak over what was meant to grow in stillness. That is why this message feels different. You are not watching this by accident. You are here because something that was hidden is about to be uncovered, not publicly, not loudly, but personally. This is not a general season. This is a targeted moment. You have been feeling an internal pressure that does not match your external life. On the outside, things may look calm or unchanged. But inside, something has been stirring. A sense that you are standing on the edge of transition. A feeling that something is about to move, but you cannot see how or when. That is the sign. God often speaks through alignment before He speaks through answers. He adjusts your spirit before He adjusts your situation. He strengthens your discernment before He changes your direction. This is why certain people drifted away without explanation. Why conversations ended abruptly. Why plans dissolved without drama. It was not loss. It was separation for clarity. What God is preparing to send you cannot arrive in crowded space. Some of you have been asking, why now? Others have been asking, why not yet? The truth is, the delay was doing more than you realized. It was training you to listen differently, to move without panic, to trust without needing every detail. Because what is coming next will require calm confidence, not emotional urgency. There is a blessing being positioned that does not come with noise, but with stability. Not something that excites everyone, but something that settles you. Not something that proves a point, but something that answers a prayer you stopped speaking out loud. This is why the message was blocked before. This is why resistance showed up. This is why distractions tried to pull you away. The timing matters. If you had received this earlier, you might have questioned it. If you had received it later, you might have missed it. But now, you are ready to recognize it without fear. Do not rush the next step. Do not force clarity. Do not measure progress by speed. What God is guiding you toward will unfold naturally once you stay aligned. This moment is not asking you to react. It is asking you to remain steady, because what is about to open does not need effort to enter. It only needs readiness to receive. And readiness is exactly where you are now.